Hello, everyone. Welcome to the class tonight. Tonight, we thought we would talk about what I think is kind of a common thing. It's when people in your life, and it's usually people who know you, um, use your own psychology against you. They try to manipulate you. They try to get you to do something based on your doubts, your fears, your anxieties, or maybe based on your hopes, your aspirations for yourself, your sense of who you are, or a commitment to a certain way that you're perceived. All of these things are elements of the shrewd manipulator. So, tonight we're going to talk about how we can deal with that using meditation. My name is Dr. Asatar Bear. I'm here each week teaching this course, this class in uh, an introduction to heart rhythm meditation. This is a method, a meditation that comes from Sufism, the Sufi tradition of Hazrat Inayat Khan. So Leah will be back with us next week. Um, Leah does a lot of teaching, so she cannot always make it to this class. We miss her very much. Um, so I want to just talk a little bit about this theme because it's something that I deal with, and I think a lot of us do. Um, especially I think this especially comes up with people that know us. You have to kind of know somebody's psychology to try to manipulate them. And like I said, they're using it against you, to try to get you to do something. And I think it's not a positive word, right? We don't associate positive things with being manipulated, right? Sometimes a person, I mean, probably always, right? A person thinks it's for your own good, Um, it's a bit like the term practical joke. Wow, what a term that is when you think about it, right? I'm going to play a prank on you, but it's for your own good, right? Wow, okay. That's what a lot of assumptions embedded in that, right? That I know better than you what your own good is, and then I have to fool you into doing it, instead of just, you know, being open, being direct, having a conversation like as if you're a, smart, capable thinking person, like that. No, no, we've got to trick you into doing something, right? So I think this is frustrating, especially for those of us who like to be more direct. And I don't know, maybe this is a more of a gendered thing. I don't know, maybe men are acculturated, taught to be more direct, and women are taught to be less direct. I don't know. Um, I think that there is a lot of gendered stuff when it comes to the accusation of somebody being manipulative. I think that is far more often something that men say to women than vice versa. Um, because a lot of times it's the tactic of somebody who doesn't feel like they have much power. When you approach somebody directly, that's a powerful kind of stance. Um, so like, okay, let's talk. Right? Um, and I don't need to conceal my motives. I can, um, unless I'm trying to get you to do something that goes against your interests or something, right? Like, or unless we're in some kind of conflict. I mean, this is what they say, the art of war. Sun Tzu, the the first principle in war is deception. You know, well, so okay, if we're in a conflict, then yeah, I don't expect you to, come at me with the full truth. But like, if we're friends, if we're, for family or whatever, um, it would certainly be nice. But it's often that's where we find this the most, right? And it's I think with a friend, it's like you don't want to like enable this behavior. You don't want to accept this behavior. But sometimes confrontation is not the way here. Sometimes the person is not necessarily aware that they're doing it. Sometimes confronting them is more costly. It's going to provoke a whole reaction and whatever, right? And let's say this is like a family situation, where um you're going to have the relationship, right? So let's put it this way. um so like, how do you deal with this, right? We have a great way that comes out of meditation, and it's pretty simple. Okay, simple doesn't mean easy. So I'm going to say it, but it doesn't mean it's easy. You have to know yourself. You have to get to know, what are my fears? What are my triggers? What are my hopes? What are my delusions? Um, what is my self image that I'm clinging to? You know, um, what are my hopes? What are my projections? All of this, right? And you have to be able to stand in your truth, stand in your center, and act from there, right? Not based on these other, because it's going to lead you the wrong direction. Whatever you end up doing, it's going to be wrong, right? Because it's not about the choice per se. It's about the reasons for that choice, right? If you are acting out of, you know, illusion, right? Whatever the source of that, you're just reaffirming a pattern, which is not going to lead to wholeness. It's not going to lead to, because you're not coming out of your authentic truth, right? So how can it lead to that, right? And that is the way, right? That this is what we want our actions. This is what we want our thoughts and words and deeds, and where we want them to be leading. I think, right? I mean, this is, or at least is my aspiration. I think if you're here with me, maybe it's yours as well. Um, we want wholeness. We want integration. We want to really know who we are on a deep level, and to act out of that place, to be our highest self, even when we're dealing with challenges that threaten to make us small, make us defensive, or come out of our fear or our greed, or whatever it is, right? So we got to know ourselves, right? That's the bottom line here. And luckily, meditation is an excellent way to do this. So um, let's uh, let's try it out. Now that we've done some preamble, let's let's do some meditation, and maybe we'll get an experience of what it is that we're talking about, right? Because, like I said, a lot of these things get simple, but not easy, right? There's a big difference. Something doesn't have to be complicated to work well. I think a lot of truths are simple truths, but it doesn't mean they're easy to live by. So we want to explore that. We want to strengthen our spirit, because that is what's giving us the ability to stand in our truth, right? And that spirit is held within our hearts, right? So we want to open our hearts, energize our hearts, connect our breath, our intention, our conscious mind to our heart. That is the home of our spirit. That's the sacred vessel that holds the timeless, eternal light of our souls, and allows us to experience life, this limited life. All right. So let's try it out, shall we? Um, okay. So we're going to first of all just adopt a good posture for meditation. And I'm sitting in a chair. And if you're sitting in a chair, most chairs, they kind of like encourage you to slump back. Like, look at this chair. I don't know if you guys can see this, but we don't have the chair in the frame here, so I don't know if you'd see this, but it's like most chairs, right? It encourages you to kind of do this, lean back. Okay, this isn't going to work good for meditation. So I try not to touch the back of the chair. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is like, down here. Um, I'm trying not to touch it with my back. Okay. I'm trying to just sit back on the chair far enough so that my butt is touching the back, but not my lower back. And this wouldn't touch my upper back anyway because it ends here. Sort of common for chairs. All right. So this is how I like to approach it. A lot of times, a chair is not the right height for you. It depends on your height, right, and the height of the chair. But keep that in mind too. A lot of times, it's helpful to take like a cushion and just raise yourself up a little bit. Um, I mean, some chairs are too high if it's a bar stool height or something like that. It's probably going to be kind of high. Um, but you'd like to be in a position on your chair so that your feet can be flat, ideally, uh, and that your knees are at the level of your hips or a little bit below. All right, a little bit below. If your knees are higher than your hips, and a lot of chairs put you in this posture, it's just going to be very hard to sit up straight because there's going to be more pressure on your lower back, and that's the last thing we need, right? A lot of us do a lot of sitting, and our lower backs are, not in great condition from all of that. Okay, so we want that lower back to have that kind of natural curve in it. Okay, so as opposed to curving forward, we want it to have it should have like a, so it should curve back a little bit, right? Just a little bit. Um, and that allows you to sit in an upright way, but it doesn't feel like you're having to keep a lot of tension. It feels like you can relax into that upright posture. Okay, so that's the first step. Maybe this is hard to follow, like I wish I could be with you and I could help you with your posture and here's a good chair to sit in, whatever. Um, I make chairs myself, and I always make them so that they kind of work for this. Not that like every chair is for meditation, but for whatever reason, it's always in my mind somewhere. What if I sat on this chair to meditate? Would that work? So this is what I've been told. All my chairs are good meditation chairs. But the ones that you buy aren't always. Okay, so once you feel like you have your posture down, and just settle into it and make sure that you're just check in. Make sure that your head is in line with your spine, that your head is not too far forward. A lot of times we're used to having our head forward like this. So a lot of times it's going to feel like sitting back, and you'll know when you've gone too far back because you'll feel more tension in your belly, so that your abdominal muscles, if you're leaning back, you'll begin to feel that it takes more tension to remain upright. And of course, if you're leaning too far forward, you'll feel more tension in your lower back and possibly your upper back, possibly your neck, depending on what part of it is out of alignment. So now tune into your breath and become aware that you're breathing. Awareness of the breath is awareness of the self at a very deep level. When we first begin to sit, there's a coming to rest that happens because we're changing our state. And, the reality of modern life is that we are taking in sensory impressions, we're taking in information. We have this wondrous new thing, the internet, that is a incredible conduit for information, of course, right? More information than other generations have had. So just a remarkable thing, but we have to remember that this is a it is a load on our sensory system and on our minds. It's very stimulating for our minds. New information stimulates the mind, but it also stimulates other things. that can take away our balance, can stimulate our envy of others, our fear that we do not measure up, especially social media, which of course filters only the best moments, but normalizes those moments to appear that everyone is, you know, happy and achieving great things. Now, when we close our eyes and go within, we are cutting off the flow of information from the outside, but and not completely, of course. We still hear things, we still feel things, but that flow of information, a lot of it goes through our eyes and it's much curtailed. And we're turning our attention toward the inner world, toward knowing who we are. Because the truth is that when you stand in your center, when you stand in your truth, it's very difficult to manipulate you. It doesn't mean that you'll always do the right thing. It doesn't mean that you're perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But it simply becomes very difficult to play on your doubts and fears and hopes and delusions. Now, this is a deep well, and I'm not going to claim that a single meditation or even many meditations will rid you of your delusions. That's not realistic. But it should give you a sense of what is real in yourself and what takes you closer to that truth and what takes you further away. So begin to breathe in more consciously and become not just aware of your breath, but begin to intervene in your breath so that you're breathing in and just allowing your belly to expand, and breathing out and allowing your belly to contract so that it feels like, excuse me, feels like that there's a lot more movement in your belly than perhaps there is when you normally breathe. We often keep our bellies very armored as we move through life. And this protects us, but it also limits us because holding the belly in is significant of self-control, and it engages the muscles that surround the solar plexus, which is the center of self-control, of willpower, of discipline, of restraint, what gives us the ability to say no. So that's a vital strength and a vital power, but there's times when we need to let down our guard, where we need to be open, because too much restraint, too much control, well, it makes it very difficult to feel what's going on when we're so struggling to just keep a lid on things, to just function. So as you soften and open your belly as you breathe, allow your guard to come down emotionally and mentally, so that you open yourself to yourself, to deeper understanding, to an experience that is real. We are not trying to direct the experience, we are allowing whatever is there to arise. We're not trying to control our thoughts or our minds. We are doing an end round around this by just working on our breath and allowing the breath to do its work. So you may notice that as you breathe into your belly, your energy changes, your energy settles, because the energy in our bodies and minds and hearts moves to where we focus. So by focusing on the belly, by relaxing, by allowing it to expand, and by allowing it to contract on the exhalation, bringing the belly button in toward the spine, we are bringing the energy down, away from our heads where it is so often there's so much of our sensory world is in our heads, our eyes, our ears, our mouths, our noses, etc. So we're bringing the energy down into our bodies, and by so doing, we bring ourselves into our bodies and away from the anxiety that can come when there's so much stimulation of the mind. Now, the next step is to make the breath slow. So, deep, slow breathing. So, we can make it slow by just extending the exhalation, breathing out more. So, engaging the abdominal muscles, bringing that belly button toward the spine, and then breathing in more as well. So just really allow that belly to expand. A lot of times we don't because oh my God, I'm so fat, right? Well, just allow that belly to just triumphantly hang out there. Hopefully, you're not in a place where people are judging how toned your abs are in this moment. Deep, slow breathing slows down our rhythm, brings us into ourselves, deeper into our bodies, and into our hearts as well. By letting down our armor and being vulnerable, we signal our willingness to allow a real experience to arise, to come through our hearts. Now, we would also like to make the breath rhythmic and to center the breath on the heart. So, meaning the heart chakra, the center of energy, the center of emotion. And we have a way that does both of these things in the same technique, and that is to feel your heart beating and to bring that beating of your heart into rhythm with your breath so that you're breathing in for the same number of beats as you breathe out. Some kinds of meditation do not focus on the heart and do not focus on the heartbeat. They just see the heartbeat as just another sensation, one among many. But we're doing something different here with heart rhythm meditation. We are seeing the heartbeat as the primary bodily sensation. Not that there aren't others, but we're really making this one the center because we're making the heart the center. Because we're saying the heart is the center. It connects our physicality, our limited bodies, connects us with our emotions, and with our timeless, infinite, and perfect spirit, which is also there in the heart. So, from the physical to the totally spiritual, non material reality, all of that is present in the heart center, the heart chakra. And so it makes sense to focus on that physical heartbeat. And also, it is the most prominent physical signal that we have when you get quiet and you tune into your breath. It's very natural to feel your heartbeat. Now, some people do not feel it. And I think this is because you have some traumatic thing that's become associated with your heartbeat. A lot of times, every child that I've taught this to can do it right away. So children are very tuned into their heartbeat, but adults, it's maybe 50-50. So if that's you, don't worry about it. It's okay. A lot of times we associate our heartbeat with stress because a time when you're really scared or really exert yourself hard, these are the times when we feel our heartbeat pounding. Sometimes it's a time of high anxiety, high stress, or maybe you've had some kind of panic attack, and now your heart has been pounding. So these are, why we shut down that signal, but it's there. And if you really can't feel it at all, just imagine that it's there. So make an effort to tune into your heart, whether that is feeling the beat itself or just tuning in, looking for it, asking your heart to show itself. I promise you, your heart is still beating. It's still there. It's like when the sun goes behind the clouds. We can't see it, but it's still there. And your heart is still there. Now, if you're feeling your heartbeat, you can choose the number of beats, the rhythm that works for you. But if you do this practice consistently, I would like you to get to the place where you can breathe in for 8 beats and breathe out for 8 beats. So I will challenge you to make that your goal and to give yourself a sense of progress. That if you can get to that level, that you are breathing in a way that is much more slow, much more deep, you're breathing in a way that is rhythmic and heart centered. You are taking far fewer breaths per minute than is average. Because if your heart beats about once a second or so, then breathing in for 8 beats takes about 8 seconds, and breathing out for 8 beats takes about 8 seconds. Less if your heart beats faster, but so one breath in and out is 16 or so seconds. Maybe it's 12 if your heart is beating faster, but see what this adds up to. During the course of a minute, you're taking how many breaths? 4, 5, maybe? The average breath rate is 20 to 25 breaths a minute. So If you manage to do this, you're breathing at a much slower rhythm, and this slow rhythm is incredibly powerful. I want you to experience the power of this breath, and wish that um, I wish it didn't take so much effort to to attain. But anything that's worth learning is not going to be easy to learn. It's the reality. Everything, every skill that we've ever learned has taken some effort. So I hope that you get something from the process. I hope that you enjoy the process of learning this. I hope that it reveals great insights and great energy and great inspiration along the way, as it did for me. Otherwise, I would not have persisted. The final step in this process is to work on what we call the full breath. And that is to, as you exhale, really squeeze the abdominal muscles much greater than you have been. Squeeze out as much of the breath as you can. Go further with it, further still. And then allow your belly to expand and bring in that new breath. But keep the breath controlled. Don't allow it to be jagged. Don't allow it to rush in. And then continue the breath so that not just your belly gets full, but also your sides of your body, your ribs expand, your intercostal muscles. And then you allow your chest to expand as well. So we are now doing a combination of belly breathing and also then bringing in the chest to really breathe fully, using a far greater amount of your lung capacity, trying to use as much as you can, and yet at the same time, keeping the breath smooth, keeping the rhythm of the breath, and not allowing the breath to have any jagged or interrupted moments. So, no rushing in of the breath, smooth, even rhythm. Same number of beats on the inhalation as the exhalation. Your breath becomes a powerful flowing river of energy. When you change your breath, you change the fundamental energy of your being, because breath is life. The Sufis say breath is nafs. And this is a fascinating thing because nafs means ego. So it's the self. So by changing the breath, you are changing the self. And of course, in Sufi philosophy, there is a very detailed understanding of what is this self. It's what is ego. There's a part of ourselves which is very impermanent, which is very limited. And this is the part of the self that we know. Our thoughts, our feelings. I mean, when you look at yourself over a longer time frame, you see, oh my God, my thoughts are changing moment to moment. My feelings are not much more stable. They're all over the place. I go through all these different emotions. Uh, what is the constancy? What is this? Is there anything about myself that does not change? And there is, but we have to go deeper. And slowing the breath, making the breath into this powerful rhythmic wave that we're working on here. This is just so, it's such an incredibly powerful way to go about it. A lot of meditation schools, they don't teach detailed methods of meditation because they basically have the thought that if you just sit long enough, that you will settle down and your body has its own wisdom and your body will begin to deepen and slow the breathing and come into balance. And that will just happen if we just sit for a long enough time. But that's the thing, right? A modern life imposes such great demands on our time. We live under capitalism. I mean, capitalism is like we have to work and hustle all the time to get by unless we're independently wealthy, which is not true for most of us. So the great majority of us simply do not have the time to do just sit. We need to settle ourselves down and deepen and expand our being. And this learning how to breathe is such an incredibly powerful way of doing that. I tell you this, right? By breathing in this manner for 10 minutes, you do the work of maybe 2 hours of unstructured sitting. That's how powerful it is. So imagine how far you can then get if you can do this for an hour. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I'm sharing with you what I have experienced with this. This is not theoretical. This is from my own experience. Breathing in, we are receiving energy, we are expanding, deepening our being. Breathe that energy right into your heart. And exhaling, we are speaking, we are radiating our energy, we are sending our unique energetic signature out into the universe. And this is a real thing. This is why we can feel someone's vibration, we can feel someone's mood when they enter a room, even if they don't say a word. And this vibration becomes very powerful during meditation. You can feel it in another person. And if they don't speak, the room becomes filled with these vibrations. So it is very often the case that when someone is trying to manipulate you, they need a hook of some kind. That hook could be guilt, it could be shame, it could be trying to meet someone else's expectations or trying to make true the other person's projections of you. We want to be seen in a certain way. We want to not be ashamed. We want to not feel guilty. So whatever that is, you breathe into it and you breathe it right into your heart. You feel it, you become conscious of it, but you put it next to the light of your being. Because this is what comes out as we breathe in this manner. Our inner light, our inner truth, the light of our hearts. It is our souls, the vessel of our divine selves, held in our hearts. The highest and most authentic truth of who we are. Breathe into it and allow it to fill your being. And it's good to perform a reality check here, to realize that we have no control over how others perceive us, that there is no action that we can take or not take that gives us that control. That control is an illusion. We do not have control over how others perceive us. So, for someone to say, to imply, to give us the message that we must do something in order to preserve the regard that others have for us, well, that is not coming from the truth. Now, we may choose to do that thing, or we may choose not to do that thing. I'm not saying that the correct path is always no or always yes. That is a matter of judgment. And that has to be considering the situation, of course. All I'm suggesting is that you bring that hook, whatever the person has hooked you with, because, the hook is often painful, it's aggravating. You bring it to your inner light, to your inner truth, and see what aspect of it. Maybe there's some aspect here that is true. Now, a lot of times not, right? Or the truth is quite different than it appears. Breathe into it, bring it next to your inner light, in your heart. Now, the difficulty, of course, is that we have to confront our own limitations. We have to acknowledge that we are not in control. We often wish we were, we pretend we are. And this is what our limited self, our limited ego does. Always seeks control, even when it's an illusion. But chasing after shadows, chasing illusions, that is never going to lead to wholeness. If the hook is some kind of guilt, it's saying we should have done this, that, or the other. We should be different. What is the light of your being saying? This is me. This is how I am. This is who I am. And there is a layer of your being. There is a place here that is perfection itself, which is not to say we cannot improve. That is the great contradiction of inner work. We come into an understanding of our inner perfection, and that gives us a sense of wonder, of awe, of peace at such a deep level because it's like everything's there, it's all perfect. In a sense, nothing needs to be done. We can simply rest in that utter perfection of being. And yet, when we bring our limited self into focus, how we fall short, how we would like to be better. And this is the human condition. We are in touch on some level with that perfection, and yet we are painfully aware of the limitation, of the imperfection of life. And this is the what moves us forward. All right, so I hope you've gotten a sense of this way of dealing with the hooks, the manipulation, tuning into your true self, experiencing that self through your heart. So we'll end our meditation here. You can open your eyes and turn to your surroundings. Those noises that you hear, my kids. If you're picking that up like I am, that's my kids going in and out. Each week, I tell them I'd like them to be quiet. But this is part of what we deal with, And like I said, this meditation is not free from sensory input. It's more limited, right? We close our eyes, we're still, we don't have the body sensation of moving. Um, but it doesn't mean we get zero information coming in, right? We still get some. Um, so then it becomes a challenge. Right? Can we keep our focus? Can we keep our center? So I hope you got something from this. If you'd like to support the show, please go to the Patreon. The link is in the description. And so wonderful to sit with you all tonight, um, or whenever it is that you're watching this. Um, so I will be back next week, Leah as well, and we will see you then. Until then, namaste.